oh, I got this ever-decreasing mess. So, in this part of the video, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put a couple more screws in here. I know I said I wasn't going to tighten these down, but for the next part we have to flip the machine over, so I kind of want to get everything more tightly secured here. So I'm going to put a couple more screws in here, and then we'll flip the machine over, and let me see, I have messed this up. Yes, this is a shorter screw, so the shorter screw actually should go, I just put this screw, so let me take this screw back out. And then, again, that has to do with this plunger on the side here. So this is a longer one, I'll put that in the front, and then this is the shorter one, put that in the back. And we'll hopefully make it so that this machine won't fall apart when we flip it over. Alright, so let's see if we can just put this over here like that. It's definitely gaining some weight now. And so now what we need to install is this. This will go on, just be careful, these things have to be aligned properly. This will go on. We can get these out of the way. Actually, you better be careful how I do this here. This has to go underneath those. And this rod has slid out, which is, this rod here needs to come back so that these will fall forward enough. Let's see, what is this? Not cooperating here. I'll have to look into that. You should be moved over just a little bit here. That one went in. Actually, I think part of the issue is I'm not over too far. This one should go in there. That one in there, and then so on. But I think I should be able to lift these up far enough to get them out. Well, maybe not. So we'll just line all these up first, just to make sure that they are in the correct, at least in the correct area. Not necessarily with the teeth aligned, but I'll just put that. And then looks like I'm missing a spacer. I'll have to probably this piece right here. So the spacer then will go. I'll just stuck this in here now. It's not going to want to come out. So I'll have to get this spacer and it just goes in right there. We'll play with that later. Anyway, what we need to do is see if we can get this down in here. And this has to go probably under like that. There we go. Just have to go up just a little bit. Hitting on this because this has fallen out, so we'll rotate this back around. Stick it through the side here. There we go. So that's in. So now this should be able to slide over. Should be able to line up the dowel pins. I think we can. Push these down past it. So that should go in something like that. I'll tighten down the screws, push that down. I think it's hitting, right now it's hitting on these. let me grab this a little bit. Alright, so the issue was this plate, see how it has this arm on it? This arm was on top of these levers, it has to go underneath them. So I just slid this shaft out, wiggle the levers over enough to get this arm to pass them, and then wiggle everything back over. But in looking at this, I think it might be easier actually to install this piece first, or at least get it fished down under there. Because this has to go in, which might even be hard to get it in as it is now. This has to go in, actually, oh, maybe, let's see. It has to go in on the back here, so we can push it down in, almost there. Okay, so that's in more or less where it has to be. Obviously, left to right alignment is not quite right yet, but I think it should be okay now. I just want to get it in there in case I had to reach in this way. It should be impossible once this is in. So now that that's in, see if we can install this finally. Just wiggle it down in there. And actually, this probably has to go underneath of that. There we go. So that should be correct. Let's get everything lined up on the dowel pins, more or less like that. And I'll just screw that in, and then we can put in the brackets for this piece. Okay, so that didn't work. I don't know how they expect you to do this, but with these plates in here like this, you can't get this piece of metal here down underneath. Be careful how these line up. You can't get this piece of metal down underneath these plates because the dowel pin is too tall. So the only way I could figure out how to do this was to take the slide off, so that take the side back off so that these plates hang down, and then put this in here. And now it goes down on its dowel pins. But I really don't like doing it this way because now basically the machine is resting on the main drum, which is not ideal in my opinion. So we'll try and do this quickly here. I get at least a couple of screws in. I'm going to hold it in place. This one's going to be a pain to get in. There in the back there. So yeah, I think this way, the way that I try to do it, will work on an Excel calculator. So annoying, because it doesn't have these plates, but for some reason, the way they designed it, you can't. So I can't see a way to get this in here with that side on. I'll just make sure that's seated well enough there. Let's see if we can pop the side on like this. Maybe it'll be easier because now we can leverage these. This pin is for this shaft, so I have to make sure that that goes back in there. Let's see what we can do here. So we can line up okay, that's one lined up. And these plates I'm talking about. Okay, that's lined up. We've got the main drum lined up, so they should just slide on theoretically. Right, and then we'll see if we can flip it back over like that. While not knocking anything apart. This is incredibly, let's slide off of here. Okay, now I'll put this pin back in to line everything back up. So light install there. Find out what I do with my carriage bed plate screws. Here they are. Put these back in and then tighten this back down. and then we'll go back down to the bottom and finish installing what we need to install down there. Alright, so as you can see, I elected to slide a couple of these pieces off the shaft just so I could work with this a little bit better. And the reason is, let's see if I can show this. So you can see how the pieces here go in between these rockers here. And also this piece here, you can see this tong right here goes down, inside this drum and rides on a little cam there. So the problem was for one thing, trying to get all these lifted up out of the way to get this in, because these pieces are all welded basically to this shaft. So you have to lift all these up out of the way and then wiggle the whole thing in as one piece. And also trying to get this down in far enough to get this past here. And what happens is there's a piece like this which goes on basically right like on there, and you have to, so that's bolted down in there. So I was trying to get this down in far enough that the pin would line up with the hole on this piece, and that was much more inconvenient than I was anticipating. Anyway, I have these little brass washers. I believe they came off of here. I don't have anything else that they'll fit on. Put one on there, and then should be able to hopefully just line this up with the dowel pins. That side is still in, I believe. There's dowel pins that this piece has to go into. There's one. Nope. Alright, I'm probably going to have to fight with this. My elbow is probably in the camera. This is still not. Won't go over far enough, so it must be hitting on something. Additionally, this rod here has to kind of like go underneath part of what's on this, which I'm not sure that it is. See if that helped at all. I don't really think so. No, something's still in the way. Now, so I finally got that in. You can see there's one bracket right there, and then the other bracket right there. And I'm sure you can see. So that's one bracket right there. You can see the two screws hold it in, and there's also two dowel pins that locate it. And then same thing for that one, two screws and two dowel pins. It's kind of hard to get in because I had to contend with all these things flopping around. And at the same time, you have, I was mistaken before about that hook riding on the cam. It actually goes underneath and kind of like rides on the front. So we flip this up here. Definitely gaining weight now. We can see. So you can see these are the hooks that ride back and forth, and ideally, see it comes up, when the hook comes up, it locks that in place, and now, you seeing that? No. There we go. So you see these are the hooks here, and see they come into these teeth, so when I push them forward, now it locks that from rotating. Or at least then I can rotate again. So basically that just locks your keyboard setting in when the machine's in motion. And of course these are all pinned to that shaft, and as you can see, this right here, actually you can't see because it's behind that other piece. So this right here is that funny shaped piece that I thought went on the back here, but it actually goes up underneath and rides kind of like on the front. And then there's a cam on here that as the drum rotates, it pushes them forward to lock it in. So as soon as you start rotating the handle, it'll lock all the settings in. So I think the next thing we need to do is get all of these pieces lined up here. So what we want to do is, this is hitting on something. Oh, it's hitting on this. This needs to go back. We'll go forward. So there's there's teeth on here, and basically what you want, so there's teeth all the way, there's teeth all the way down in the middle there, and as you can see, as these rock, it rotates the setting drum. So what I think I want is it to be kind of like that, where I believe that should be 0 now on the front. So if we move, this stops. I need to check why it stops. Oh, it's just stuck on the, this thing must have been a little bit sticky off to oil that. So you can see that pops in and out, just didn't want to pop out. So make sure we got some oil on that. And let's see if we can go in here. Basically we want this to be at 0 when this is all the way back against. So I'll have to do some looking and make sure I get all that timed right, but that's the idea. There's a rod, this rod actually, that goes in here. Of course this one goes in like that. Have to fish it in there, but basically this rod goes in like that, and that's your stop. So when you release a key, it's these springing back against that rod, and that keeps them all at 0. So I'll have to get all that lined up, and then I'll install that rod, and then I think we should be good to start putting the keyboard in. But on that video here, I'll play around with this timing and make sure I get everything timed right, and next video we'll pick up with installing the rod and hopefully starting the keyboard installation. So we're going to do this video, and thank you for watching.